Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Recipe for Fashion. By this video I am going to start a new series called Runway Fashion, where I'll be recreating garments made by fashion designers and brands which are showcased in a fashion show or fashion week. And in this video I am going to recreate a midi dress designed by Alexander McQueen and was showcased in a fashion show last year. It is not a complete tutorial video but more of a walkthrough video where I will be demonstrating the process of recreating a garment in 3D. But this doesn't mean I won't be uploading the pattern making tutorial videos from the book, so don't worry about that. Now with that out of our way, we can start with our first episode of Runway Fashion. So sit back, relax and enjoy. So to recreate this garment, we need a basic mannish jacket block, and by altering the block, we are going to achieve the desired look of the garment. First, we start with creating 2 extra fish or diamond darts to give it a more fitted look as the reference garment. Here, the first dart is closer to the main dart, so we are going to place our first dart at a distance of 1 inches, and the second dart is a bit far, so we are going to place our second dart at 1.5 inches of distance from the first dart with the help of dart tool. The reference for measurement of up and down length is the main dart, and the total width per dart is 1/4 of an inch. And after creating these 2 darts, we are going to hit the space bar to simulate. Now the next step is to create the neck dart, and to do this, we are first going to create the mid neck point by using uniform split into 2 halves, and by clicking on the shoulder dart, then choosing the rotate dart option, and then selecting the mid neck point. To rotate, we can transfer the shoulder dart to the mid neck point. Now for the next step, we are going to widen and extend our hem to create the hourglass look as our reference garment. First, we start with widening our hem, and to do that, we just have to click and drag the side seam hem point horizontally 1 inches for both front and back, and then to extend the hem, we are going to select all the hem lines from front and back, then right click on it and choose offset pattern outline. Then we are going to extend these lines perpendicularly to 6 inches. Now again, we are going to widen the hem by 1/2 inches more, and then we can finish or true the side seam curve by using the curve points. Now we can switch on bonding to fully realize our dress structure, and the next step is to raise or square our shoulder line. To do that, we are going to click and drag the shoulder point vertically for 1 inches on both front and back. Then to reduce the armhole size, we need to click and drag the armhole point vertically for 3/4 of an inch. Now that we are done with the dress structure, we can move on to altering our sleeve pattern, and here we start with reducing the cap height first. To do this, we are going to draw a perpendicular line from the center notch point of the upper sleeve and mark a point 1/2 inch below the notch. Then draw a new cap passing through this point. Now we can sew it partially to the armhole to front and back to create the split effect. To create more definitive shape for the cap, we again are going to reduce the cap height, but by using offset as pattern outline option and choosing the retract option. And then we equalize the side seam length of the upper sleeve with the under sleeve. To do this, we first extend the hem of the upper sleeve length same as we retracted from the cap height, and then we will change the side seam length equal to the undersleeve. Now, as you can see, the sleeve length is still a bit short than our reference garment. So here we are again going to extend the hem of both upper and under sleeve by 1 inches. Now that we are done with our sleeve, we can now start creating the design element on our dress pattern. Here we start with creating the fisheye hole at the center front. To do this, we first mark a point 3 inches below the neck point at center front, and then mark another point 9 inches from this point. Then we are going to create a midpoint to this segment, and from this midpoint we will create a 3/4 of an inch perpendicular line to y-axis. Now we will create a curved line between the 2 points passing through this extended midpoint, and after drawing the curved line, we can simply cut off the curved line to create the hole. Now we are done with the shell part of the dress, and we can copy this pattern to create the lining for our dress. After copying the whole pattern set, we will deactivate and hide the pattern. Then we'll draw internal lines on this lining, joining the dart point and creating a perpendicular line from dart point to hem and shoulder line on x-axis. Now we can cut these internal lines to create the panels for the lining, and before we sew together these panels, we will true the pointy corners of the panels so that it can set in easily inside the shell. After truing, we can create all the sewing lines to the corresponding panels. When the sewing is done, we will simulate the patterns on the avatar, and after it's been simulated properly, we will reduce the hem of all the patterns for 1.5 inches. Then we will select all the patterns, and in the property editor, we will reduce the shrinkage weft to 85, and after simulating, we will freeze all the patterns. Now we can activate our shell pattern and make it visible. Then we change the layer to 1 with all the shells selected and simulate it. After simulation, we will again change the layer back to 0 and simulate it again. Now that our shell has set in properly over the lining, we will extend the hem of all the patterns by 1.5 inches to create the hem fold. After this, we sew all the hemlines from shell to the lining and sew the neckline, armhole and the center front hole too. After completing the sewing lines, we go to the 3D window and fold all the extended hem from shell pattern at 0° fold angle with fold ending on by using fold tool. Then we simulate the patterns. Now we will assign fabric to the lining, and I am choosing interlining polyester satin for it. After simulating it again, we will create piping on the darts to give it the same look as our reference garment. To do this, with piping tool selected, we will create the piping over all the dart lines on both front and back patterns and increase the width of it by changing it to 0.185 with start and finish on. After we are done with the piping, we will create the support for the cap. To do this, we simply create a half-inch wide shape below the cap by using internal line tool. Then trace this shape off and create the corresponding stitching lines. Then superimpose it under the upper sleeve cap and simulate it. Now we can create partial bonding on the back pattern to make it more stiff on the upper part. To do this, we will draw an internal line just above the back half line and draw it all around the upper part of the back pattern without touching the pattern line till it closes off with the starting point. After completing the shape, we select the internal line shape that we have created, and in the property editor, we will turn the bonding option on. We repeat the same process for the other back panel too. Now we will seam tape all the hemlines and sleeve cap by selecting the hemline and the sleeve cap line and turning the seam taping on and increasing the width of it for the respective lines. After finishing the seam taping, we can assign fabric and color to the shell, and here I am choosing cotton gabardine for it, and for the color I am choosing the most relevant one as our reference garment. And last but not the least, we will add an invisible zipper at the center back for fastening with the help of zipper tool. So this is it. I hope you have now some idea about the process of recreating a real garment into 3D, and I will be posting the next episode soon where I'll again try to recreate some other garment from some other designer or brand. If you want to see more videos like this, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. I will see you all again in the next video soon. Till then, keep pressing F and peace out.